Hi everybody and welcome to the sixth session of the EASA Safety Week. My name's John Franklin and I'm head of the safety promotion team here at EASA, and we've been organising the Safety Week this week. We're now streaming, thankfully everything works. We're streaming simultaneously between the YouTube live stream and WebEx as well. Hopefully people who registered we only have 1,000 people limit with the YouTube, so with the WebEx, so it takes a little bit of time to have to connect the two and get everything organized. I'm just going to run you through a few logistics before I hand over to my colleagues here to talk about the topics in this continuing airworthiness session. So here's the agenda here. We're now on the Wednesday afternoon slot, so session 6. We have the cyber security and security session tomorrow morning at 10. And we have the safety leadership session tomorrow afternoon. If you want to join either of those sessions, I'll post the YouTube live stream links. The WebEx is full again, but I'll post the YouTube live stream links in both the chat in the WebEx and also in the YouTube, so you can see those. Just to make you aware of another event, in case you're interested, quite a hot topic at the moment is the challenges of conflict zones and GNSS jamming. So we're hosting a World Overflight Risk Conference from the 2nd to the 4th of July in Warsaw. It's an in-person specific event hosted by ourselves and our partners Osprey. So you can find all the information on that on the EASA event page. And then just to run through a few logistics with you. So we are recording the sessions and all of the material that you see will be available on the EASA event page for Safety Week, and then the videos on the Together for Safety YouTube channel. Now, because we're live streaming YouTube, if you want to share the video with any colleagues, you'll be able to share what's in the YouTube straight afterwards. So it's there almost as soon as we finish. Also encourage you to follow the EASA AirOps community and download the Conversation Aviation magazine. We published the first issue in February for this year, and the next one will come out in May, and it's all around working together in preparations for the summer and all of that kind of thing. Then in terms of questions, we would love your interaction. We'll try and take questions throughout the session as we can. So for those of you in WebEx, shortly after we finish this introduction, you'll see Slido in the bottom right-hand corner of the WebEx panel, and there'll be the opportunity to ask questions there. Otherwise, if you're in the YouTube or if you've used the app or Slido online, you can go to www.sli.do. It's there on the screen. And then with these codes, I won't expect you to remember them. I'll post them, the codes in the chat again in the WebEx and the YouTube live stream, so you can get them from there. And the only thing I would say is there's nothing worse than having lots and lots of very similar questions rather than people upvoting similar questions to kind of bring it to the top of the pile. So do look at other people's questions before you ask your own, and upvote other people's questions rather than having 10 questions on the same topic, one question with 3 votes above it that we only have time to get to those ones, and the one that people don't ask. We'll try and identify those, but it certainly makes the whole process a lot easier. So that's the logistics over with. I'm going to hand over to my colleague Alberto now, who's going to take you through as host of our session. So I'll flip the video across to you, and over you go.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. I'm here with Daniel Roy, one EASA colleague that will deliver a presentation today. And I'm accompanied as well by Diogo Reu from Wizz Air and Luigi Caredu from Swiss Aviation Software. We are going to cover, we have chosen the topic in continuing airworthiness in regards of implementing the EASA tools. What do we mean with these tools? We are referring to electronic identification, electronic signature, management of flows within a company, having easy access to information, up-to-date information, having easy management of records, all these things that our rules demand from companies. But now some of you, most of you have already, if not fully transferred into digital means, electronic tools, you have already considered it and maybe we are in the middle of the process. So today we are going to, we have these three speakers that will talk from different angles on this topic. We are going to have a presentation from Daniele about what can EASA do to help and support any company that wants to commercialize one software to facilitate or to be used by airlines, maintenance organizations. What can EASA do to make an evaluation of the tool? He will go in more details on this. We'll have also the perspective of one of these companies that can offer their services and their tool to a final user. And we will have also the view from the final user, which is an airline which has its own CAMO approval, and they can use this tool in order to fulfill the requirements of the rule. The rule itself, it is not, it is written in, let's say, the flexible way, so it does not require paper signature. It does require that the processes are robust, but it doesn't establish what are the means that to be used for those processes to be robust. In that respect, we have not identified that there is a need of amending the rules to make these tools possible for implementation, but they are being used already. In fact, we have also tried to publish some guidelines of containing what we expect from this rule, what authorities can consider in order to assess a system like that from one of their companies under their oversight. So without more delay, I would like to introduce the first speaker, which is Daniele Roy. Daniele is an avionics system expert with 25 years industry experience in Leonardo and Piaggio as development, integrator, qualification and certification of complex avionic equipment and system. And he has worked for projects in the fixed wing and helicopter, aircraft, military and civil aviation. And since he joined EASA 2 years ago, he's working as a project certification manager for avionics ETSO articles, and he's contributing as general aviation projects as avionics system experts. And he's also, since a few months, on point for electronic flyback's operational evaluation, and he's going to talk a lot about this today. He's also a private pilot, by the way. And yeah, I think you can start. Okay.
Thank you. So I'm going to share some slides about the process we use for the evaluation of electronic flybags, generally speaking, and to provide some specific guidance for the electronic technical logs. So we start with the definition of the electronic flybag, which came from the IROPS rules. So defining the EFB as a system for flight deck crew members to be used to support flight operations and duties. And usually those systems are implemented in a commercial off-the-shelf tablet device. And as you can see already from this slide, the definition is quite narrow to airborne operation, but during the years we have seen multiple applications coming to this area, including the electronic tech logs that are a means to manage the airworthiness status of the aircraft. So the current evaluation process we have available the service that we provide on request, so it is not mandatory. It is the developers may apply to this OAB evaluation. OAB stands for Operational Evaluation Board, and EASA focus on the evaluation of the software and the compliance demonstration versus the applicable ops rules, while is the responsibility of the operator to apply to the competent airworthiness authority for the for obtaining the operational approval and to provide all the necessary evidences to support this oversight. And as you can see, we have two main categories for the classification of the EFB software application. We have those type A applications that are defined as those functionalities that don't contribute to any safety, any failure condition, so they don't have any safety effect at aircraft level. And also type B functions that can contribute up to a minor failure condition. Normally, the electronic tech clocks are classified as type A EFB application, but this slide is a bit provocative to make us think about the implications that a corrupted electronic tech clock can have for the at the aircraft level for the final safety issues. And so it is still true that we will consider the electronic clocks as type A application, but we will focus on some specific features to guarantee that the usage is still safe. So the current situation can be resumed that obtaining the EFB operation authorization is an operator's responsibility, and the competent airworthiness authority is normally a national authority for many of the operators will deliver the operational approval. So what EASA is providing is a service for the evaluation of the application, and this is useful to collect all the evidences for the compliance demonstration to the applicable operational rules, and could be used to provide this this result to the competent authority. They normally grant some credits to this existing evaluation. The output of the evaluation is normally a non-technical objection letter that is available on the EASA website. So on this slide, I would like to describe a bit the full framework of the related to the electronic clocks. We have on the left the airborne side, which include the devices used by the flight crew and the cabin crew, and is the area where EASA focuses during the operational evaluation, while on the right side we have all this back-end back office architecture that is used by the operator to support the fleet and to manage the activities. And we as EASA, we don't oversight the right part of this framework, also because it involves a lot of, as you can see, a lot of users, different profiles, but also could rely on a very complex infrastructure. So nowadays, this centralized server could also be a cloud service, and so we don't have the full capability to oversight this complex architecture. On this slide, you see many exclamation marks that are related to those open data connections like Wi-Fi or internet connection that can be an entry point for cybersecurity attacks. We will discuss later a bit about cybersecurity, but this is an area that is becoming more and more important in this kind of evaluations. So to resume, we have different profiles for users. We have, of course, the flight crew and cabin crews that may be involved in reporting of defects and to verify the closure of maintenance activities, to cross-check with the master equipment list of the aircraft. And we have in the amber area all those users that are more related to the ground segment, and so for the maintenance tasks and the administration tasks. As I said before, EASA will focus the evaluation on the flight crew profiles, and we leave to the competent airworthiness authority the oversight of the profiles, the roles, functionalities available to the ground segment. And everything in the blue area is approved by the competent airworthiness authority. So now I will try to provide a quick overview of the main regulation that can be used during this evaluation. So we expect that the developers of the electronic flight bag will provide evidence of compliance to the rules for air operations. And we start with the operational requirements for air operations that define some general requirements for the logs. These are contained in Annex 3 to this Commission Regulation 965/2012. Then from Annex 4 in part CAT, so part commercial air transport, we have specific requirements for EFB. I would like to highlight this application classification. So we require to have the details and the evidence that support the classification of the electronic logs as a type A application. We have many acceptable means of compliance related to this use of electronic flight bag that are still applicable to the electronic logs. And we continue with the special operation requirements with the suitability of the hardware. I would like to highlight also the fact that the operator is required to perform some evaluation tests to demonstrate the fit for the purpose of the electronic flight bag. I deleted on purpose this ETS authorization. We will speak about it later, but this is an alternate means to provide a compliance demonstration for electronic flight bags. I would like also to highlight the fact that we need specific profiles, specific users profiles for the EFB administration to avoid changes to the configuration of the software that are not authorized by the approved operational procedures. And of course, the procedures must be developed by the operator. And we continue with the applicable requirements for from part N. So we are now in the continuing airworthiness domain. The developer is required to demonstrate the compliance of the electronic log application to all the requirements related to the record keeping and to the system to manage all the aircraft technical logs. In this area, we see that there are specific requirements for the electronic signature that applies. Electronic signature is required to guarantee that the proper user managed the issues reported on the electronic tech logs, and to guarantee the fact that nobody else has modified the entries of the electronic tech logs, and also the non-repudiation, so the possibility to deny that an entry has been added from a specific user. And yes, we have also some specific requirements related to the classification of aircraft defects and the management of continued airworthiness. Those are all the requirements that normally applies to paper logs that must be demonstrated to be satisfied by the electronic flight bag. Last but not least, we have also some requirements coming from Part 145 for the maintenance organization, and also in this case we have a specific requirement for the maintenance of record. We have additional reference material that may come from this EASA EMC 2025A. This EMC is focused on the installation requirements of EFB, but also provide some additional guidance about the electronic signature, so acceptable means to implement these electronic signatures. The FAA counterpart is useful to have a generic guidance, or in case the developer is seeking the approval also in US for US operators. And we had in the past some applicants doing the concurrent validation of their EFB application. And in this case, we include also the compliance demonstration to the FAA requirements. So on this slide, I'm trying to summarize the what do we expect from the developer to show the compliance to the applicable rule. So we expect to receive a cover document to describe the application and to reference all the additional evidences that might be part of the data package. We expect to receive a compliance matrix to the applicable regulations. So all those requirements we have seen in the slides before, we expect to see a compliance statement and also a reference to a document where this compliance can be demonstrated. And we may need some specific additional compliance documents to assess those functionalities that are not normally applicable to an electronic tech logs, but just in case if the electronic flight bag includes also additional features like weight and balance or moving maps. The AirOps provide some specific requirements for those applications, but those applications normally are Type B applications. Then we expect to have a generic risk assessment to demonstrate that the functionalities do not contribute to failure conditions at the aircraft level. So we expect to see mitigation with requirements, and of course the manuals for the administration and for the users should include also specific procedures that may be included in the operator's company procedures to properly operate the electronic flight bag. And of course, last but not least, we also need an evaluation copy of the software to perform some tests in-house. So on the right side of this slide, you can see the output of this process. So this is the public output, so the letter that is uploaded on the EASA website, finding the version of the software that has been evaluated and any limitation that we may have found during the evaluation. This is the letter that can support the operators to achieve the operational approval through the competent airworthiness authority. Of course, the competent airworthiness authority could perform additional evaluation, could also contact us to understand what has been done and to ask for additional information if they require to do so. So I would like to highlight this cybersecurity risk. We already know of some cybersecurity risks, some cybersecurity accidents that already happened, and we know also that there are websites dedicated to cybersecurity attacks to EFB. So we would like to raise the attention on this threat, and today it is really the one of the most important topics and one of the most risky risks that we can expose we are exposed for the EFBs. So we requested the developers to implement all the features that they may have to avoid cybersecurity attack. So including cryptographic code, secure connection, data connections, of course, electronic signature, checksums on the software and related database. But also the operators shall develop specific procedures to reduce the risk for cybersecurity threats. And of course, the final users, the crew should pay attention not to leave the tablet unattended or to connect to unknown networks that may open the door to this type of risks. So the process, the current process also has some limitations. First one is the fact that is a non-binding outcome, so we only provide a recommendation. The competent airworthiness authority has the right to perform its own assessment and not to grant any specific credit from the OEB evaluation from EASA. We have a lack of tools for managing the changes to be introduced to the EFB software, and we don't have any obligation for the EFB occurrence reporting. So everything is left to the developer to inform the users about the potential issues or about the availability of fixes and new version of the software. We have seen a lot of subjectivity between different developers. It means that every developer follows a different development process with different with the compliance to the operational rules, and this makes the evaluation a bit tricky and difficult. And as I said before, we focus on the airborne functionalities only, leaving out all the framework that is required for the system and is required for the ground segment. So we have been required to provide an sort of certification, so to be more legally binded, to provide more support and to the operators and to the competent authorities. And so what we will have in the future, the process will change, and EASA already decided that this OEB evaluation, as I described today, will be discontinued, and we will transition in the future to this electronic technical standard order authorization. That is a process that is more rigorous and is already available on a voluntary basis today. Is based on an industry standard, this EuroCAE ED 273, that set specific requirements for the development of electronic flyback software applications, includes formal development assurance and risk assessment, and also requires some changes to the developers organization in terms of requiring this alternative procedure to design organizational approval and production organizational approval. So the last two bullets are, let me say, the other side of the coin. So the process is more structured at the cost of increased cost for the operational for the organization requirements. So we have already received feedback about this this approach, and for this reason we already started to consider the possibility to move those electronic flight bags to a category that is called non-installed equipment. We will see in the near future an update of part 21 with this new subpart K defining the non-installed equipment, and we are already thinking about means to ease the ETSO authorization for those non-installed equipment. And talking about the ETSOA proportionality, so we will ask for a declared organization. So we will not ask anymore for NIEs to have an PDOA or a DOA, and so we accept this. We will accept this declaration for the organizations, and we are also thinking about the possibility to remove this requirement for a production organization approval for software only application. Those during the EFB workshop of November 2023, we understood that those were the two big issues for developers to start with this new ETSO process. And of course, in the future, we may think also to provide a specific service for the evaluation of the down segment compliance to the operational rules. So that's all from my side. I hope it was clear enough.
Yeah, there are already some questions for you, but
Yeah.
we will leave them to after the other two presentations, because maybe provide some clarity. Just to summarize, if I understood correctly, just what is yes or no answer. So today, for the operational approval, EASA assessment of the tool is a kind of add-on voluntary in order to help the NAS. Is this correct?
Correct.
Okay. And whenever we implement, EASA implements this system that will require changes in the rule and organize or consider this element as a non-installed equipment that could be a software package that could be used by operator. Those that for which EASA has already granted a letter of approval, will they have any recognition already?
Those already with an operational approval will be allowed to be used. Of course, we will not. It will be a bit difficult for us to grandfather those applications and to give them a real ETSO certification, a ETSO approval, because normally in this area we see a very fast rate for delivering updates, and the technology behind makes obsolescence very fast, and so we are thinking that grandfathering will be difficult. But of course, as long as the original application is used, that be
a good starting point.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, of course. Also.
Okay, thank you, Daniele. I'm sure there will be questions that we will ask for your position on them. But let's move on next to the next presenter. As I explained at the beginning of my introduction, we have with us today Luigi Caredu from Swiss Aviation Software. Luigi is team leader in consulting the department at Swiss Aviation Software. His team is focused on supporting operators and also 145 organizations to support implementing digital aircraft maintenance solutions. So he has been, in the last 2 years, directly involved in electronic tech log topic, managing and developing a project aiming to deliver a new solution for their customer base. So Luigi, please go ahead with your presentation.
Yes, Alberto, thanks for the introduction, and good afternoon, everybody. I will try to go through this digital aircraft maintenance topic from the perspective of a software provider. The idea is to go quickly through this agenda to provide a very brief overview of who is Swiss Aviation Software, and then cover the supporting a digitalization strategy so that we can approach the topic a little bit high level, and then focus on the electronic technical logbook topic to close with our perspective on the OEB evaluation process that Daniele covered in detail so far, and thanks for it, by the way. So let's start very quickly. Swiss Aviation Software. We are based in Allschwil, close to Basel in Switzerland, but we have outstations in Miami, Tokyo, and Singapore, and already more than 230 customers and more than 300 employees, and we are on this market since now more than 30 years. We are, I would say, proud of having more than 7,800 aircrafts fully managed in our MIS, and more than 90,000 users globally. We saw quite a growth in the last years, and you might recognize in this slide some of our customers. I would like to mention that our customers are mostly either operators, or say airline, or MRO, so Part 145 organizations, or both of them. We have quite a global footprint. We are almost everywhere into Europe in different market segments, but also in America and APAC area and Africa. That was a very brief introduction. So let's try to go to the topic. We see an impressive momentum into, let's say, coming from our customers into their interest into digitalizing the way they handle their maintenance activities, and that's what we are trying to support with our tools. The first important step is probably to understand that what our customers, what the operators and the MROs are looking for. Again, very high level. They're looking for paperless solution. So they're really willing to embrace a transition to paperless operations. And often learning to use different tools is a burden. So it's important for them to have tools that are easily accessible and easy to learn. I mean, we are talking, for example, about technical logbook, and it might become extremely expensive to spend too much time with our cockpit crew and cabin crew into their learning. So it's important to have something that can be learned pretty much fast, and also offline capable. I will come back to this topic in a second. So the first important point is we have to address the needs of different users. Okay, so we have maintenance, so maintenance engineers. These are just a few examples. We have storemen into the logistics department, and this is a specific logistic world, the logistics within the MRO. And then, of course, we have pilots and we have cabin crews. And all these users often come with very specific needs, and we need to provide tools that are tailored to their needs. As an example, I would say core of our activities is to enable line and base maintenance operations. So we have, let's say, a generic maintenance engineer, and we try to provide a tool that is able to support this user in all their journey. You can spot in these pictures here, for example, the need of accessing OEM documents, the need to access task cards to perform their jobs into a paperless approach, and having the possibility to track the execution, the accomplishment of maintenance operations, such as closing a task card or closing a work order, releasing an aircraft. And we need to support the full end-to-end process. This was just an example, just to say it's not only about electronic technical logbook, but the electronic technical logbook is part of our journey into supporting our customers, operators, and MROs into a paperless transition. Now let's try to get closer to the main topic, so the electronic technical logbook. We spent the last 2 years, a little bit more than that, into developing our own electronic technical logbook. This was an interesting journey to understand specific needs of our customers with regards to the electronic technical logbook and explore a little bit this world. So moving into the cockpit, into this journey of supporting our customers. And I would like to share with you briefly only four little topics, okay? So summarize it into really 4 slides about ATL. The first one is about risks and opportunities. What I see when starting talking with a customer, a prospect customer, about implementing an ETL, so transitioning maybe from a paper-based technical logbook to an electronic technical logbook, are on one side concerns, and on the other, understanding that there are opportunities into this transition. So the main, or the most common, trying just to quickly summarize them, risks that our customers share with us are that this new tool might not work properly because they are kind of confident with the paper-based technical logbook, at least in terms of reliability, you know. So mainly the concern is about lack of connectivity or the total failure of the app or the device, as in this picture, so like a broken tablet, or data being entered on the wrong aircraft. The other big area of risks and concern is about security. Daniele was mentioning something in his presentation. So let's summarize it as IT security breach topic. For example, confidential data being disclosed, or an unauthorized access to the device or the data contained into the device. But the good thing is that these, if properly mitigated and handled, might actually lead to opportunities if we see this the other way around. So an electronic technical logbook can become a single source of truth once implemented. So it can be always available in cockpit, even when offline, exactly as a paper-based technical logbook. But on top of this, it might offer a fast two-way synchronization with operations control, maintenance control, line maintenance. Two-way here is key. This means that also line maintenance, MCC, can provide real-time information. Think about a damage and you want to report it, and sometimes this might get complicated. While with an electronic technical logbook, you might just take a picture of the damage, and this might be made available instantly to line maintenance and MCC. It might be easy to replace a technical logbook so that one Once the device, in case of a failure, total failure of the main device, this can be easily replaced with a spare device. And that we have secure means of initializing a new device. This might be, for example, via a QR code in cockpit or a similar means, just to be absolutely certain that we are working with the correct device linked and bound to the right aircraft. The IT security breach should be addressed from a secure by design approach. So, for example, confidentiality risks might be mitigated through an end-to-end encryption and unauthorized access via a secure authentication, for example, a one-time password. This, at some point, we should also think about how actually such a solution might be safer and more secure, more controlled than a paper technical logbook. We might, for example, put in place some qualification control, fine-tune the control over the people that is accessing and what they can actually do with the technical logbook once they access it. And on top of it, the partner like us or several others in this market might offer some more confidence through certifications such as the ISO 27001 or a proper quality control, penetration tests performed by third parties periodically to grant to the customers that actually the application we are talking about is secure. The second thing is that I would like to share with you, just to think about it, is that I see the ETL implementation as a joint journey. What I mean is that I saw honestly some possible implementations kind of failing since day one because of the lack of commitment by all the parties involved. On the other hand, I saw very successful implementations when all the main stakeholders were there and working together. So we have a complex product scope because the tool is offering services to pilots, cabin crew, maintenance engineers, MCC, system administrators. They come with different needs. And during an implementation, we need to be able to have a proper steering that is representing flight ops, maintenance, and IT. So this cannot really be a journey that is just run by maintenance or just by flight ops, for instance. They have to work closely all together. The third point is about a typical implementation plan. This is just an example to focus on a few topics that are recurrent when working on the implementation. So usually we have to face a technical side of it in yellow about the environment setup, where we have to set up a test environment, we have to work on the IT infrastructure definition, have user acceptance tests, maybe that the customer has to procure the devices, upgrade the system, and so on. There is a training stream that needs to be planned and executed, and there is an implementation stream, which is about typical project management tasks such as scoping and planning, and then a process definition. We always recommend to get in touch with the competent authority as soon as possible to inform them about the project, the scope, the way they are gonna actually fulfill all the applicable requirements, and then to submit the new processes, such as the revision of their CAME or the revision of the MOE, to the competent authority for approval as soon as the processes are defined. And then this authority approval will probably take a while. And what we suggest is to have a parallel run then. So the existing paper-based processes to be used in parallel to the new digital tools to gain confidence and to be able to show to the competent authority full control and fulfillment of all the applicable requirements while using it in parallel with the already pre-approved paper-based procedures. Once this is done and the authority grants the approval, then they are ready to go. They might have a bit of a buffer eventually and then be ready for the go live. This is just in a nutshell in 1 minute to summarize the typical challenges that we face while supporting a customer into their implementation journey. Last topic, but not the least, talking about ETL, is about training and documentation. So a key area where we have to support our customers into this journey is to offer support into the training. we saw that it's not just about supporting them, but understanding their specific needs. For example, the need of keeping a track of the training performed, specifically by the cockpit crew. This is like there are requirements there, but similar can be for cabin maintenance, admin. So to be able to address different kind of training and trying to make it also efficient for the customer. On the other side, we have dedicated documentation per each user role that can be accessible also when they are offline, constantly updated, and that can be reused by our customer to some extent at least, and maybe embedded or attached, for example, to their OM Part A, as this will be basically the documentation of a proper EFB application, and they need to have it handy. I would like to close providing my perspective, or let's say Swissair's perspective, on our experience with the OEB evaluation that Daniele presented. In a nutshell, I would say it was great, and we really wanted to find a way to support our customer, to get something that could have relieved a little bit our customers into approaching their competent authorities. So what we tried to do was to design the tool upfront as compliant. So we tried to understand before starting the development, we started gathering all the main requirements on both flight ops and continuing airworthiness domains available by EASA, and of course, not only EASA. And we tried to review them with the OEB team defined even before completing the development, just to understand if we were actually already tracking everything that we needed. Our objective was to get the NTO as a type A application, as Daniele mentioned, that can run on a portable EFB. So technically speaking, like no operational approval is needed, but we wanted to do this to be able to embrace into the requirements also the ones coming from the continuing airworthiness domain, and to relieve let's say our customers into their approval journey. I don't want, of course, at all to overstep on all the requirements, because Daniele was much more detailed into his presentation. It's just like a very brief summary from my perspective. It was nice to see that during this journey, we had the opportunity to focus on both sides. So the, let's say, the flight ops side and the airworthiness side. On the flight ops side, we mainly focused on the CAPGEN MPA 141 on the use of EFBs, and the SPA EFB 100 on the use of EFBs and the operational approval. On the airworthiness side, mainly, not only of course, but we focused on the MA 305 and 306 on the aircraft continuing airworthiness record system, because at the end, the tool is heavily connected with our MIS, and of course, with the MA 306 on the aircraft technical log system. What I would like to mention before closing is that we also, this was not strictly part of the OEB evaluation, but we found also extremely useful, and not just about EFB, but whenever supporting customers into their digitalization, the new guidelines on the ECAB that were issued roughly 1 year ago on the 4th of May, because they are not yet like an AMC, but they provided already very interesting perspectives and support when supporting customers into approaching their competent authorities. And because the electronic signature topic and the electronic technical logbook are, of course, kind of connected, because there is a need of using such a tool into the EFB anyhow. So this kind of third pillar was very much supportive as well into supporting our customers. So, which are the deliverables that we worked on, as Daniele presented, mainly two: risk assessment template. This serves as a baseline for the operator to define their own risk assessment, and the compliance matrix that tries to clearly address each single applicable requirement. And from my perspective, what we tried to do in the compliance matrix was also to show where we could actually provide compliance as a software provider, and where actually the compliance needs to be granted by our customer, the operator, because it's more on the physical device, on the stowage of the device in cockpit, for example, where we can just maybe support. But this was anyhow, like we got positive feedback from our customers, because even if we couldn't show compliance upfront in the software, at least for them was clear where they have to work when approaching the competent authority to show compliance, and which are all the requirements. That was it, Alberto. I stop sharing my screen and I hand over back to you.
Thank you very much, Luigi. I think it was very interesting. I have a quick question before we move to the next presenter. Luigi, this is for you. You have been supporting your customers for them getting the approval from the National Competent Authority. Have you seen more or less the same level of acceptance or questioning about your customer when they had applied for getting the approval of these electronic systems from the competent authorities? Are they all competent authorities more or less expecting or asking the same to the oversight organization?
I would say, talking, for example, about electronic signature as one of the key topics that are connected to the implementation itself, where we have a little bit more experience back in time, so they can look back like to almost 10 years ago. What I see and want to share is a positive trend. What I mean is, probably 5 years ago, we were used to support customers that were being asked for completely different requirements from the different competent authorities. And for us was a bit challenging, to face different requirements that somehow were coming from either different interpretation of or from different national laws. While what I see is that the more tools and let's say like the ECAP guidelines, so the more guidance material is provided by EASA to the competent authorities, the more we see actually an alignment into the requests that are coming to us from the customer, because being asked from the competent authority. So the trend is kind of aligning into this direction, at least for the not yet 100% there, of course, but from the electronic signature perspective, this is definitely what we see. For the technical logbook is a little bit more complicated to say, because there are also a lot of specificities that can be connected, for example, even to how to fit it into the cockpit of that specific aircraft type. So it's not only about different competent authorities, but can be different customers and different aircraft, so different setup. So of course we need to also be like flexible and support on different topics.
Okay, thank you, Luigi. You will be called for some of the questions from the audience. Thank you.
Okay.
So we are moving now to the last presentation. This is very relevant because this is actual implementation of this tool by one airline directly using these tools for COPS and CAMO, I understand. This is going to be presented by Diogo Reu from Wizz Air. Diogo is head of maintenance and engineering and post holder in Wizz Air Group CAMO for Hungary and Malta AOCs. He's an aeronautical engineer with more than 20 years experience in aviation, split between CAMO and Part 145 maintenance organization, and he's working in Wizz Air since 2008. So, Diogo, you have the floor, but maybe you can start explaining who is your competent authority Why
Yeah,
you're
sure.
special? Yeah.
Sure, Alberto. First of all, thanks for having me here. Really appreciate the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here. I will talk about that on the first slide actually, but I can tell it already. Obviously, our competence authority is EASA, so we are the proud owner of EASA CAMO 001. Okay, since 2020, we are controlled directly by EASA. Okay. I will show. I like to talk about that as well anyway. Okay. And I'll try to share my presentation. Okay. Just let me know if you see it already.
We see it now in presentation mode. Yeah, please.
Okay, good. Okay, then so I'm here to talk a little bit about our experience with the implementation of the ETLB on an airline. So it was, I think, very good already to hear from EASA side, from a regulatory standpoint and competent authority, and as well from SwissAS from Luigi on the software provider. So I will talk a little bit now, a bit now about the implementation on an airline. Okay, so let me just guide you through. So I have a small presentation. Just a quick information on Wizz Air. So actually, Wizz Air makes 20 years this year. It's our 20th anniversary. We are the biggest low-cost operator in Eastern Europe. We are all A320 family operator. We currently have 4 AOCs, 2 of them at EASA, under EASA, so the Malta and Hungary as we discussed, as you already presented. And in 2020, we became an EASA operator certificate. We received our EASA operator certificate, and as I mentioned, so since then, we are the proud user of CAMO 001 from EASA. Okay. Quick information just in numbers of Wizz Air. So the fleet has been growing quite significantly. The number of passengers as well. Obviously, the COVID years had quite an impact on us, but we're starting to, or we're getting back to normal numbers. This last year we already flew more than 60 million passengers. We have a current fleet of 208 aircraft and close to 30 bases with 8,000 employees. So this is the trend we continue to follow. Okay, having said that, focusing now on the topic at hand, we all talk about implementing all these tools, but the question is, I think the main question should start with, why are we doing this? Why paperless? Why digital? So I try to make a quick resume of what we at Wizz Air thought were the main requirements or the main concerns, or why we were doing it as the main reasons. Okay, so the first reason, and at the top of all of them, was an increase of the airworthiness control of the operation. The paperwork, the paper process has some limitations. I think Luigi talked a little bit about that. That we should look at these solutions rather as an opportunity than a risk, and I think the move to a digital system help us do that. So it was a big focus on, okay, we need to increase our airworthiness control. That was one of the bullet points. Okay, next one, accuracy, efficiency, and reliability. We strongly believe that the implementation of these tools will increase, and as I will talk about it a bit later, it's already proven because we are flying for almost 2 years on the solution. We see this accuracy, efficiency, and reliability all across the operation, and as a consequence of the implementation of the application, getting better and better. Okay, live stream of information for all maintenance, crew, and operations. I think this is something historically has been an issue. The information flow between actions taken on an outstation or on a base, and the move of the documents themselves is always a bit of a challenging process. This is something we were trying to address with the implementation of the solution. This live stream of information is super agile, very quick, and clearly an improvement from what we had. At the same time, one of the important things we wanted to do was shifting the manpower resources resources to a hands-on performance rather than a paper pushing exercise. I think, and probably I'm still a bit from what I would say the old school, very used to all this paper and heavy dependency on paper. And I think we should be more focused, or the tools would allow us and actually allow us to be more focused on the performance itself, on the quality of the work, rather than just a paper pushing exercise. I think I was making a note, and Luigi was mentioning, which I think was quite good. Why not have this as a one source of truth rather than looking for so many different sources? Okay, sustainability. I think this is something we proud ourselves at Wizz Air to be one of the most sustainable airlines in Europe, and this is a big impact as well. When we made the just to give an idea to the people, when we made the first assessment at a fleet of 100 aircraft, we were assuming something as 4 million pages printed less just by sheer implementation of the new solution per year. So quite significant. We are at 208 airplanes, so you can imagine how much paper we are talking about. And finally, but I think not less important, adapt to a new digital world. I think we all have to come into terms that the world is trending into a different direction that we historically had. We're moving into a new real digital world. I think the new generations are much more focused on digital solutions rather than the paper solutions. So I think this is quite important, and we felt like this is the time to do it, and we have to move it. I mean, I think I like a lot one sentence from Jeff Bezos, which I think is very self-explanatory. And he says, what's dangerous is not to evolve. And I think this is really a very accurate expression of how the future will go. So these were for us the main guidelines, the main reasons why we decided to go through the process. Okay. Of course, with every new project and every new goal and every new target, there are challenges. So what were the main challenges we've seen? Resistance to change, MROs and pilots. Like I said, I think the old industry is very used to the paperwork, to do it that way. We are used to. I think it's also in human nature to have resistance to change. So this was one of the main issues we face. And I think the good thing we've seen is there is a big resistance in the end, but after a while, no one would want to go back to the system. So, but this was a real challenge. Another challenge we had was the compliance with all the legal requirements. I think Daniele already resumed pretty well all the requirements we have, all the requirements we should follow, and Luigi complemented that as well. I don't need to explain. It's quite a few. We have to consider all of them to make sure we build the correct framework to address the solution. Then at the same time, and I think the bigger the organization, the more complex these implementations are. At Wizz Air, we were already at probably around 150 aircraft, so 5,000, 6,000 people. We have all the pilots to train, we have all the MROs to train, we subcontract most of our maintenance, so it's a lot of people involved. It's difficult to get everyone trained, prepared, adjusted to the new reality, and cope with it. Okay, we have more than 3,000 people, as I was mentioning, so we had to go over live trainings, create training materials, testing applications, and so on, everything which was connected to it. So quite a big challenge as well. Then another thing we have to do, and this is part obviously of any change you have to do on a process or an airline, or a significant change or a major change in this case, we needed to revise and go over all our SPMs, our supplemental procedures. So we needed to revise all of them to make sure they would reflect the new reality, the CAMA as well, and all the training materials, because you have to have all these things working together. So you're implementing a new system, but at the same time, we have to revise all our current material, everything which we had externally. It's quite of a heavy and a big exercise. Okay, then how did we do it at Wizz Air? So basically, the goal was to reach a full paperless system on maintenance and on the cockpit. We decided we thought that the best way to do it was to implement an electronic tech logbook solution. AIM was mobile because AIM was our software by coincidence, since we have Luigi, and the connection with electronic flight bag. Okay, obviously this is on the flight ops side, but the idea was to get to an environment where all these parts are communicating and talking to each other. So that was the vision. Okay, now since we're talking about the approval processes, we talk a little bit about this. I created one presentation just to show the audience and the people how did we do it, what were the processes we follow, or what was the timeline we follow. So it's more or less this timeline. I'm just sharing basically the final stages. We had quite a lot of testing before and development of the tool. We were the launch customer of a tool, so quite of a complex exercise. But I divided basically on 3 phases. Phase 1, the preparation, where we had the project kickoff, management of changes. So as part of the SMS, we need to look into management of changes, evaluate the risks, the pros, the cons, the challenges, and all of that. Procedures come review, as I just mentioned, training, material, SPM's preparation. SPMs. Then we had an internal audit. We have internal audits to test the solution, followed then by a presentation to EASA, which included a live demo and the assurance that we were compliant with all the regulatory frame, with all the regulation and requirements. Then digital structure. I think this is something that Daniela talked a lot about the risks of the digital cybersecurity and all of that. So we were looking at the digital structure, backup processes. In our case, we use USB and the USB sticks and paper backup. So we needed to make a presentation on that, explain this to EASA as well, focus on that. Then phase 2, which is a consolidation, which is this part I was already describing, where the final stages was the CAMA submission, so the revised CAMA and all the procedures we revised, management of changes document. We also did a compliance matrix. Luigi also mentioned a little bit about that they use the same approach. So we build a compliance matrix versus all the regulatory requirements to make sure we were in full compliance with all the requirements there. This is something that we have done, and the training material as well. The final stage, we have a EASA on-site audit and live testing of the solution. So this is what I would call the end of the phase 2, the consolidation. From this time on, we started the training of MROs, crews, and our own staff. The CAMA approval came already at the last stage, which I call the phase 3 submission, approval, and go live. And we were training the MROs and the crew. At Wizz Air, we decided to make a partial go live. So we had an initial launch with only 2 airplanes. After a couple of weeks, a few weeks, we increased to 12 airplanes before a final go live and a go live. So we are live at Wizz Air since July 2022. So we're almost reaching now 2 years of the full implementation of DTLB in the company, and I might say quite successful. So we're quite happy with the results. So obviously, in the end, after implementing all these solutions and implementing new, we always want to look, okay, what was the outcome? We are 2 years into it. What were actually the main advantages post-implementation? So I wanted to highlight some of the ones that became very clear. Real-time information available, cockpit, MRO software, and archiving software, which basically means that we can have an open defect open in Tumbuk today, and that information is immediately available, obviously, on the cockpit, on the maintenance provider, at our MOC, at our control center, and at our archiving software. So there is no loss of information or risk of losing the data at some point. So, okay, we added safety nets on the airworthiness control. As I mentioned, this was one of the key objectives we had when we were implementing the solution. So we've seen these safety nets coming through, not only with because now we have the live information, and at the same time we have our system, our MRO software, showing constantly on the cockpit all the maintenance due, schedule and unscheduled, which was something we couldn't do before, or we didn't have before. So, and it's quite of a live feed of information, communication even between our pilots and our MOC. So, okay, the application of the MEL, the accuracy of the application of the MEL, and the enhancement of the control of the due maintenance. This is something that came through very quickly, very clear. Now our MCC validates every single MEL dispatch by the crew, so we can control more accurately the deferral. That is the communication. It's a live communication between MOC and the cockpit. And at the same time, as I mentioned, we have all the schedule maintenance visible immediately on the ETLB, avoiding potential missed tasks and overdue situations. Data quality, we also see far better than we used to have, obviously, and I think this is obviously also an historical issue. Sometimes even the way people write is difficult to understand. Now it's everything is digital, everything is computer data, so there is no misunderstanding of what was written, what was not written. We see this coming along, and at the same time, the build-up of these solutions allows us to increase the reliability control. So we can very quickly connect a fault to an open work order or to a specific system. So, and we can enhance the reaction to it. Just to give you an idea, our MCC calls decreased by more than 30% as a consequence of purely the implementation of the electronic tech log. More than 4 million paper pages not printed anymore, and this is purely just the work package, talking a little bit about one of the main goals we had with the sustainability, and obviously with the fleet increase, this will just keep growing. Finally, just to give an idea of how we operate, so we build a system where the ETLB is at the center and communicating with all the different areas at the same time. So you have the flight crew, the cabin crew complaints, MCC, OCC, our MRO software, the team itself that can communicate directly, and our automated solutions connected to it. And just to finalize, just to show you a quick sample of a closed work order on our electronic tech log, which you can see this is in cockpit mode. This is basically what the pilot will see after an action taken and a corrective action taken on a finding and a corrective action taken on it. Okay, and this is all I had to show you today. So anyway, thank you for the attention and open to any questions that you might have.
Thank you very much, Thiago. Very interesting. Just one question to my curiosity.
Yes.
Did the pilots have reported how were their reactions when they were maybe facing a SAFA inspection, however they are called now, and they were presenting the?
Yeah, I think as I mentioned, I think the beginning is always a bit of a shock. People are still adjusting. So we had a lot of calls to our MCC to support during the first weeks of the implementation. But I think this was something that very quickly turned into a normal process, and the SAFA inspectors were more receptive to it. I think there was some understanding as well that, okay, we moved to a new solution. This is a solution. Here is the data. Just let us know what do you need to see, and we should be able to show you the needed requirements. So just initial adjustment. After that, we don't have to.
Thank you. Thank you. So we received a number of questions. I don't know how we are a bit tight with timing. I will read the questions, and whoever wants to say something, or I will just say something myself. So some competent authorities allow certificates to be available digitally on the electronic flight bag, while some others still requires hard copies to be available on board the aircraft. Are there any plan in the future to align full on board digital certificates? I think there is already some AMC in the OPS regulation in paragraph CAT-GEN and PA 180 that allows already so the use of electronic tools. So this is, or at least it says it may be in another form which is not printed paper. So I think you have to show this to your competent authorities, and they can approach us as well if they have any, if they want to discuss something with EASA. But today that should not be a problem, and the rule is not prevented, or is not mandated that it has to be a printed version.
Yeah, we actually do the same, Albert. We already have some cases, so we see that's correct. So we already have some documents, and I think the tendency is to have more in the future, which is a good sign, I think, I would say.
So the next question, with an operator that uses an ETEC log, what provisions guidance is in place for a contracted maintenance organization to get and store the records they need to hold as a Part 145 organization? I suppose, well, and maybe Luigi and Diogo, maybe you want to complement, but of course you have to discuss with your partner company on how to they interfere and they interact with the tool, and if it is possible, how they could have access to this tool and take some records. I suppose software is not.
I can tell from our side. So we make all these records available directly to our providers. Obviously, the contracted providers have access to our MRO software, so they can easily retrieve for their records. Obviously, they are obliged as per their Part 145 requirements. So they have access, and for ad hoc providers, we also provide documentation upon completion. So if there is an action taken in an outstation, our MCC will immediately provide a copy of the element. They can actually download also directly from the iPad, but we can send it as well directly. So.
Thank you. So another question from Simon Griffiths. We have been discussing this. I don't know if Luigi can help with this one. I think I cannot answer it. How and by what recognized standard is the safety assurance of the cloud service achieved? Do you know this standard, Luigi?
Well, I think we need to maybe clarify a little bit the concept of this cloud service, because there are a couple of different scenarios. One is usually those devices that are in cockpit needs to be connected with the MIS, but this connection is represented often as something that is in the cloud, but actually everything can be encrypted end-to-end and not accessible to anyone. So it's actually just in the hands of the customer that got this approval. And this, so if a customer is not willing to share anything in the cloud, there is a server which is relaying it as a switch or as a router that you have for a Wi-Fi access point, and basically not much more than that. And no information is accessible to us if this is what the customer wants to have. The second thing is the customer is willing to ask us to actually support with some, for example, cloud hosting services. And then this is a slightly different story, but it's something that they are then asking. And then we can come back to the, for example, to the ISO 27001 standard as one of the references. There are others. And in terms of IT security, of course, I mean, I would suggest also to review the part IS as a, say, on the cybersecurity topic. But I think that there was a dedicated session on cybersecurity, so I don't want to step too much into it.
Okay, so the next one, again from Anonymous, very active Anonymous. If Camo stores digital aircraft records on an offsite cloud based on a third-party service online, is this deemed continuous airworthiness activity as defined by Camo, blah, blah, blah. Record keeping, such is deemed as a subcontracted Camo. Well, normally we would not expect that this is considered as subcontracted in the sense that they have to be assessed and audited. But of course, they will have to show that the system to store the records to the competent authority, that they can retrieve the records and show them as a system that it is reliable and records are not missed. I'm just giving my first idea. I would have to go to this but I think it's record keeping. You have to show to your competent authority that you have reliable means, and I don't think it's expected the company that you have to audit or to have in your list of suppliers. Do you have any other experience with EASA, Diogo?
No, we have a stamped agreement also with our archiving solution, so we keep all the data. So it's always available at the archiving software and at AMOS in our case, because it's our MRO software. So I don't know in detail the safety nets or the cybersecurity protections from IT. Sorry about that, but that's the experience we have. So that's how we keep all the records. With obviously backups and backup solutions and so on.
Okay. Does the software allow to manage tech publications? I think Luigi, you want to take this one?
I can take this one.
Okay.
Let's say we have different, it's not only about the electronic technical logbook, we have different tools to cover different topics. So if we mean, for example, accessing maintenance data coming from the OEM, such as the AMM, for example, then of course, I mean, I expect that tools within this portfolio of tools needed to move to a paperless needs to cover that. If this is what you mean as technical publication, yes, I mean the AMM, IPC, so OEM documents is one example, but it can be also a way to store dedicated documents that are more on the flight op side, such as, I don't know, the noise certificate or other certificates that needs to be made available in cockpit, and you might want them to use the same tool. This is also possible depending on the different tools used.
Okay, thank you. So will the ETEC logbook also be used on component level, cabin interior, passenger seats? Well, I don't think that the intention is to change the today use of the tech log in paper or electronically. So you can record defects of inside the cabin and component level to be reported to maintenance, but it is not the way to handle the components.
No, that's exactly, that's correct.
Okay.
It's a pure replacement of the electronic log with connected. That's why we have the MRO software where we will control the components. Obviously, the information flow would go from the ETLB to the MRO software, but the component control itself is not done on DTLB level. So DTLB is basically the replacement of our traditional tech log paper.
If I can, what I might add here, just to clarify, is since you are mentioning cabin specifically, often this technical logbook can be actually used also as a replacement of the cabin logbook. I mentioned in my presentation briefly the idea of covering the cabin crew as one of the main users. And what we saw as something that was well received by the customers is that Diogo mentioned the accuracy, that the same topic can be actually applied when it comes to cabin. So usually cabin care requires very much accuracy in terms of reporting. So it's not about component maintenance, it's about reporting defects, but very carefully, so that I can know, for example, in my fleet, how many armrests I have how many seats, how many business class seats, or how many economy class seats, and so on. And if everything is easily reported by the cabin crew via template and I don't know, interactive LOPA and so on, then the information is made ready. That's more about cabin reporting, but not component maintenance.
And just to add one thing on the top, and I think one thing that changes a lot with the electronic tech log, which is I think super useful, is that you can actually see the history of the maintenance done on the aircraft. That has a big impact. So you can actually go back, a pilot or the maintenance that is at the aircraft can actually see everything which was done on that aircraft in the period defined in the past. That raises or allows a much closer control of the airworthiness issues of the airplane, new faults, how to address defect rectification, repetitive troubleshooting, and so on, together with the cabin items that can easily, very quickly be seen.
Okay, thank you. I think we are running out of time. We are going to take one question more and we will close it. And it is for Daniele, who is accountable to ensure that there are no bugs inside the software used?
Yes, of course, is the developer is accountable to ensure that the software is free of bugs, but this accountability is slightly different from what we request from a certified product. And so we don't have any obligation for continued airworthiness since the EFB is not a certified product. This will change with the ETSO authorization, becoming a real certified product, and so with the full accountability in terms of continued airworthiness and also the need to answer to specific. I don't want to say airworthiness directive because we are speaking of something that only contributes up to a minor failure condition, but by definition. But we could also think about possibility to issue safety information bulletins as for a certified product.
Okay, thank you very much, John. I think we should close the session. I would like to say thank you very much to our three guest speakers today. Thank you very much for the involvement. It has been some preparation required to achieve this point. I'm sorry for all the attendance that we couldn't cover all the questions. I think we covered some, but I think the topic is very interesting. My advice to you, if you are considering to move electronically, first contact your national competent authority, explain them from the first day what you plan to do, how it is your implementation plan, what means are you going to take in place, and they will contact us if they have any request, any question about the software, about the acceptable means of compliance, etc. Thank you very much, everybody, and from here, I think we close the session.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.